Hello. I'm still tired of talking about that crusty Jenkins woman, so I want to talk about something else. Specifically, I want to take a second to talk about Henry VIII. Yes, one of England's most notorious kings, one of the biggest egomaniacs of English history. But that's not actually what I want to talk about when it comes to Henry VIII. What I really want to talk about when it comes to Henry VIII is this lingering, stinking kind of rumor about him that just really doesn't have merit. And what is that rumor? You see, when it comes to Henry VIII, there's this kind of lingering idea or mythology that he was some kind of PDF. That he was like this lascivious, creepy old man who just like pried on deadly young girls, like baby girls, like children. But no matter how big of a POS Henry VIII was, that's just not really the truth. Because you see, arguably, Henry stood out from other monarchs of the time because he, by and large, actually did cohabitate with older women. Just look at Henry's first wife, Catherine of Aragon. She was older than him by several years. I think almost like 9 years or something like that. Anyway, she had first been married to his brother, and then when his brother died, Henry decided it was his noble calling to eventually marry Catherine, who was an older woman. Then we have Anne Boleyn. There's been myths about this as well, right? People basically got the timelines for Anne Boleyn wrong, and they're like, oh my God, when she died, she was only 26. That means that the king was messing around with her when she was a teenager. But that's not true. That's not true. When Anne Boleyn returned to the English court in the 1520s, she would have been around 21 years old, which means that by the time she was executed, she would have been like 36 years old. Which, again, that is a mature woman for this time period. That's not a little girl. Her sister, as well, was in her 20s when she began an affair with Henry VIII. She was not like 21. She was like 24, 25, 26. Anne of Cleves. She was 24 when she was brought to Henry VIII to marry him. Okay? Yes, he was 48 at the time, but like she was an adult, okay? She was an adult. This is not like a little 14-year-old child. Katherine Parr. She had been widowed at least once, if not twice, by the time that she was with the king. She was a mature woman who owned her own lands, was kind of independent in a way in her own right. So much of that misunderstanding comes from Catherine Howard, who was, yes, Catherine Howard was extremely young, right? They estimate they think she might have been 14 or 15 when she married the king. But this, if you go back and overall, even you go and look at Henry's mistresses, like Bessie Blunt, by and large, Henry only messed with older women, like in their 20s. He liked mature women. He wasn't someone who went after children all the time. That's just not the case. There are even some contemporary sources who make comments on this, like who, he seemed to like women that were adults, that were able to hold their own with him. Like he loved Anne because she could ride horses and hunt, and she could play bowls, and she could also argue with him, and she could compose music and all this stuff. That's not something a child would have been able to do. Henry did for a short period of time, he liked women, stimulating, exciting women. But then, of course, once he got them, that was a different story, but that's not the video we're making. The fact of the matter is, if we're talking about underage girls, Henry VIII just really wasn't that type of predator, at least not from what we can glean from the historical record or any contemporary sources. So while he was absolutely a monster in a million other ways, child predator probably not really one of them.